Manila is building a city on water, but it's a $13 billion gamble that could end in disaster. Here is why. The Philippines is building a city on water that shouldn't exist. Not a small port, not a single terminal, an entire metropolis designed for 100 million passengers per year, rising from Manila Bay on land that was open ocean 5 years ago. The location they chose is one of the worst possible sites for an airport in the age of climate change. We'll come back to why that decision might have been catastrophic. But first, you need to understand what they're actually building. The 50-year failure. Let's rewind. Ninoy Aquino International Airport was designed in the 1970s for a Manila that no longer exists. By 2024, it was handling 150% of its design capacity. That's not busy. That's a system failure measured in missed connections and lost economic opportunity. Passengers waited hours for check-in. Flights sat delayed on the tarmac. Cargo rotted in warehouses. Airlines started routing through Singapore and Bangkok instead because they couldn't guarantee on-time departures. Every hour, NAIA stayed overwhelmed. The Philippines lost money to its competitors. Here's the painful part. They knew this was coming. Feasibility studies started in 1979. Proposals were drafted in the 80s. Committees formed in the 90s. Master plans drawn up in the 2000s. Every single administration kicked the problem to the next one. Why? Corruption, bureaucracy, environmental lawsuits, political infighting, budget constraints. Take your pick. The result was the same. 50 years of paralysis while competitors built their futures. But that decision in 2019 changed everything. Duterte didn't commission another study. He greenlit an unsolicited private proposal that shifted the entire financial burden to a consortium willing to take the risk. The government wouldn't spend a single peso on construction. This was revolutionary, or reckless. The verdict depends on what happens next. The aerotropolis concept. Here's what makes this different from every previous proposal. This isn't just an airport. It's an aerotropolis, a city built around runways where the airport is the reason for existence. Seoul has one. Amsterdam has one. Dubai has one. Now Manila's building theirs. The design is genius in its simplicity. Everything radiates outward in rings. Closest to the runways, logistics centers and cargo hubs where time-sensitive freight, electronics, pharmaceuticals, perishables moves directly from warehouse to aircraft in hours, not days. Next ring out, business districts, conference centers, hotels, office towers where executives can close deals without ever leaving the airport zone. But here's what nobody mentions in the glossy presentations. This model only works if demand projections are accurate, and there's a problem with those numbers that we need to talk about. Third ring, industrial parks and manufacturing facilities that depend on air freight access. Fourth ring, residential neighborhoods for the pilots, engineers, and logistics managers who power the system. The entire thing connects via high-speed rail, multi-lane highways, and fiber networks. When it works, it becomes self-sustaining. When it fails, it becomes a $15 billion ghost town built on reclaimed ocean. Engineering the impossible. So how do you actually build an airport meant to last 100 years? Start with this: 4 parallel runways. Not 2 crossing runways like NAIA where planes wait for each other. Parallel design means simultaneous operations. Multiple takeoffs and landings at the same time without airspace conflicts. Each runway is Cat 4 precision. Aircraft can land in near-zero visibility using advanced instrument guidance. In a country where monsoons regularly shut down older airports, this isn't luxury, it's necessity. Remember those demand projections? Here's the issue. The airport is designed for 100 million passengers annually. That requires sustained economic growth, increasing tourism, and successful competition against Singapore, Bangkok, and Kuala Lumpur. If any of those assumptions break, the financial model collapses. More on that later. The terminal itself, 350,000 square meters, single level, linear flow. You walk in one direction from check-in to gate. No confusing loops, no distant terminals. CT scanners that let laptops and liquids stay in bags. Biometric gates that process passengers in seconds. Common-use check-in counters that work for any airline. Dual boarding bridges that load wide-body aircraft twice as fast. But all of this sits on the real engineering challenge. The entire airport is built on land reclaimed from open water, soft marine clay that compresses under weight, the kind of soil engineers normally avoid. And there's a reason for that. One that involves a Japanese airport that's been sinking for 30 years. We'll get to that. To make it work, 30,000 concrete piles driven 75 meters deep through the clay to bedrock. That's like building a forest of buried skyscrapers just to hold up the runways. But wait, there's more. Engineers installed thousands of vertical drainage channels, then piled sand on top. The weight squeezes water out through the drains, compressing decades of natural settlement into months. The entire site raised 5 meters above sea level, a 4.5-kilometer seawall protecting the perimeter. Drainage systems that move millions of liters per hour during typhoons. Porous runways that drain through the surface. Seismic isolation bearings under the terminal. Every element exists because this location is fundamentally hostile to construction, which brings us to the question engineers don't want to answer publicly. The construction reality. Creating 2,500 hectares of new land means pumping millions of cubic meters of sand from the seabed. Specialized ships working 24/7 for months. The water turns brown. Marine ecosystems collapse. For fishing communities in Bulacan, this wasn't theoretical. Catches dropped to near zero. Silt settled over breeding grounds. Families with no other income suddenly had nothing. Compensation was promised. Some payments were made. Many are still waiting. The reclamation altered tidal patterns. Mangrove ecosystems, natural storm barriers, buried under fill. Breeding grounds for commercial fish species destroyed. Some of this damage may be permanent. Remember Kansai International Airport in Japan? Built on reclaimed land in 1994, it's sunk over 12 meters since opening. Ongoing repairs cost billions. The new Manila International Airport faces identical challenges. The question isn't if it will sink, it's how much and how fast. The construction itself hit problems. Boskalis, the Dutch dredging giant, withdrew from the project citing operational difficulties. Other contractors stepped in, but the departure raised questions about whether technical challenges exceeded original assessments. Ground settlement is monitored with millimeter precision because any uneven subsidence cracks runways or destabilizes foundations. The regional arms race. While Manila builds, so does everyone else. Vietnam, Long Thanh International Airport, $16 billion, 100 million passenger capacity, opening 2026. Thailand, Utapao Eastern Aviation City, $9 billion. Integrated Industrial Hub, opening 2025. Cambodia, Techo International Airport, opened September 2025. Built by a country that shouldn't have been able to afford it. This is competition, not cooperation. Every country betting that capturing air traffic generates tourism revenue and foreign investment. The problem? Not all these airports can succeed simultaneously. Manila is entering this race late and from behind. Singapore and Bangkok dominate. The new Vietnamese, Thai, and Cambodian airports will be operational first. By the time Manila opens, it won't be the newest or most advanced. It'll just be another option in a crowded market. And there's a financial structure issue that makes this even riskier. The region only generates so much traffic, only so much cargo. When Vietnam captures a transit passenger, Manila loses that revenue. When Thailand attracts a logistics company, the Philippines loses those jobs. This is zero-sum. Second place means irrelevance. The climate trap. Here's the problem nobody says out loud. The new Manila International Airport is built in one of the worst possible locations for long-term climate resilience. Reclaimed land, sea level, typhoon corridor, and conditions are getting worse. Sea level rise, 0.5 to 1 meter by 2100 under conservative models. If ice sheet collapse accelerates, much higher. The airport is protected at 5 meters above current sea level. That sounds comfortable until you factor in land subsidence. Reclaimed land sinks. Always. Kansai sank 12 meters. The new Manila International Airport will face the same physics. Storm surge during Category 5 typhoons, 5 to 8 meters temporarily. If that coincides with high tide and rising sea levels, protective measures may not be sufficient. Remember the private financing structure? Here's where it gets messy. This is a build-operate-transfer deal. A private consortium finances, builds, and operates for 50 years, then transfers to government. The operator needs to recoup investment through fees and concessions. Those costs pass to airlines and passengers. But if demand falls short of projections, which happens in every major infrastructure project, the operator loses money. Except the government can't let a critical airport fail. They step in with subsidies or bailouts. Risk gets socialized. Profits stay private. The real question: will this airport still be operational and economically viable in 2070 or 2080? Infrastructure built today needs to last 50 to 100 years. Climate models for that time frame are deeply uncertain. Building a $15 billion airport on reclaimed coastal land in a high typhoon zone is a calculated risk. Whether it's prudent or reckless depends on climate assumptions nobody can verify today. The economic promise. The official numbers are massive. 100,000 construction jobs. 1 million direct and indirect jobs once operational. Billions in tourism revenue. Massive foreign investment. These numbers are real. They're also incomplete. Construction jobs are temporary. Once building stops, workers need new employment. Service jobs often pay minimum wage with no benefits. High-quality jobs require skills the local population doesn't currently possess. Property values in Bulacan have tripled. Developers are buying farmland. New subdivisions planned. This looks like growth. It's also displacement. Small landowners sell at prices that seem high until they can't afford to live in the area anymore. Renters get priced out. Communities that existed for generations get scattered. The fishermen who lost their livelihoods? Many are still waiting for meaningful compensation. Economic transformation and equitable development are not the same thing. The verdict. So what's the actual verdict? This airport represents ambition. It demonstrates engineering capability most people didn't believe the Philippines possessed. It positions the country to compete with regional powerhouses. All of that is true. It's also built on reclaimed water in the path of rising seas. It displaces communities and destroys ecosystems. It concentrates economic benefits among those already positioned to capture them. It depends on climate assumptions that may prove catastrophically wrong. It locks the government into a 50-year financial relationship with private operators whose incentives may not align with public interest. The airport will open, planes will land, passengers will flow through terminals. The question isn't whether it will function. The question is whether it will deliver on its promise of transformation without destroying what makes the Philippines worth transforming. That answer won't come from engineers or economists. It'll come from the people whose lives are changed, for better or worse, by the decision to build a city on water. The new Manila International Airport is scheduled to open in 2028. By then, Vietnam's airport will be operational. Thailand's will be expanding. Cambodia's will be hitting its stride. Manila will be entering a market where the competition already has momentum. Success requires more than infrastructure. It requires execution across tourism, visa policies, safety, and service quality. The airport creates opportunity. Capturing that opportunity requires discipline the Philippines hasn't always demonstrated. Two futures are possible. In one, this becomes a model of sustainable development that transforms the Philippine economy. In the other, it becomes a cautionary tale about building too big, too fast, in the wrong location. Which raises a bigger question about mega projects across Asia. Because Manila isn't alone in betting billions on infrastructure that climate change might make obsolete. Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, they're all making similar bets. And some of those projects are even riskier than this one. Take Indonesia's plan to move their entire capital city from Jakarta to Borneo. They're spending $32 billion to abandon a sinking megacity and start fresh in the jungle. The scale makes Manila's airport look modest. The risks make this project look safe. And the timeline? They're supposed to move the government this year. If you want to understand how countries gamble their futures on infrastructure in the age of climate uncertainty, that story is even more extreme than this one.